Hey guys, it's Amber with Solutions for Simplicity, and today's video is going to be more of a heart-to-heart chat. There's something that's really been on my mind lately. The theme in everything I put out for you is to emphasize that simplicity is closer than we think, and living a simple, happy life is something that is ultimately in your hands. It's up to you to decide, and it's not as out of reach as I used to think. I have spoken elsewhere about how I have come to define simplicity, and after all this research I did and my own personal journey, I have talked plenty before about just how crazy my life was a few years ago. All the big things that happened in such a short period of time that just left me overwhelmed, exhausted, and desperately needing to make a change. In those moments of despair, I kind of wallowed in self-pity and misery for a while, and then ultimately realized that there were a lot of small, practical things I could do to make my life better. And as you know, it's just made a world of difference, which is why I'm so inspired to share what I've learned with you. So today I just want to share with you my number one recommendation for how you too can simplify your life immediately and, just get back to a place of joy instead of overwhelm, exhaustion, and missing out on everything that life has to offer. So if everything feels out of control right now, if you're just dying under the weight of everything you're trying to do and everything that you're juggling, please stay tuned because I want you to hear this message. As I imagine you know, this channel is all about how to simplify your life, and I'm constantly sharing my ideas and other tips, tricks, and tools I've found to do what you need to do in as little time as possible so that you have more time and energy for who and what you love. Quickly before we begin, if you are new, please take a minute and subscribe down below. Don't forget to click that bell so you get notified every time I make a new video, and as always, it means so much when you give these videos a big thumbs up if you like them. So now on to my biggest recommendation for how to start living a simple, more joyful life immediately. I have talked elsewhere about my personal experience, so definitely check that video out if you're interested, but my recommendation for you, and the thing that I still tell myself all the time, is to remember to appreciate the season of life that we're in. So often we are so focused on how out of control everything seems, how hard our current challenges might be, how, exhausted and overwhelmed and stressed out and far from where we want to be we are. I am so guilty of this, and I still constantly have to remember that, this day, these months, this time of my life, it's not going to come again. And in fact, as I already look back over past years, it's crazy how I think of those times as so much more simple and sometimes even quote unquote better than whatever I'm going through now. But the point is that it's all relative, and I can very vividly remember that years ago when I was going through some of those things that I now think are, so simple or were a good time in my life, that wasn't necessarily what I was aware of in the moment. I am so sure that you, like me, can easily look back on earlier times in your life and think that was so much easier than whatever I'm going through now, right? But if we push a little harder, we can probably remember that it didn't feel so easy in the moment. In fact, a lot of those times that we now think were no big deal were actually huge hurdles and challenges that we had to push through. For instance, I bet a lot of you can relate, right? You graduate from high school and it feels like you're on top of the world, and then you show up for your first day of college and you are just completely unsure what to do. You feel like the smallest fish in the sea and everything feels so hard. But then you get the hang of it and soon you're graduating and then you're starting a new job. And again, you feel like, oh my gosh, how am I ever gonna get the hang of this? But you do, you work your way up. When I was going through graduate school, every single step of the way felt like an obstacle that I just didn't know how I was going to overcome. And then I did graduate, and then in my case, I had kids, and I have never in my life felt so unprepared, so unsure of what I should be doing or how I should be handling things. And everything was just such a whirlwind when I had my first son. I thought everything was so difficult and like I was the worst mom ever because I didn't know what to do automatically. And then I had my second son, and it was amazing how I all of a sudden felt like, oh gosh, one kid, that was no big deal. Now I have two. How am I ever going to do this? Fast forward, and I currently have 3 young boys, all 6 and under. And when my third son was born, I was freaking out. I thought, how am I ever going to take 3 kids by myself to the grocery store, or make sure they don't get away from me in the parking lot as I'm taking my older son to school? Each of those individual moments and experiences in my life felt so impossible when they were happening. But somehow I now look back and I don't know how, but I did it. And I'm still working to keep going and, improving day after day on both what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, along with my mindset to keep me strong and faith-filled in the journey. But this is again why I'm so passionate about encouraging you to appreciate where you're at and not get bogged down with, just how hard it might feel in this very moment. I promise it will get better so soon. The point of all of this is just that when we are in something new, when we're experiencing something unfamiliar, when we're faced with what seems like a big, daunting challenge, it is normal and natural to be afraid and to question ourselves, feel like we don't know what we're doing. But we will get the hang of it. We just have to push forward. And the more that we do something, the more comfortable we get, the more familiar it is. And pretty soon we look back and we realize that was absolutely nothing to be worried about. So all of this to say that if you are feeling frustrated with your current situation, if you're just waiting for that better day to come, I have to remind myself, and I really encourage you to do the same, remember that this day is going to be one of those moments that you all too soon look back on with that fond nostalgia and sentimentality for a day gone by, a good day and a good time of your life where things were actually so much more simple than whatever you might be going through in the future. There is a very high probability that whatever you're going through now, as difficult as it might seem, chances are you will soon look back on this time and think of it as no big deal. You'll wonder why you were ever so worried and concerned and feeling so out of control. So just take a deep breath, step back, appreciate the little wins you have every day and the little accomplishments or the little moments of joy that are right in front of us if we open our eyes to see them. And then don't take these days for granted. We all know that time goes by way, way too fast, and we don't want to miss it. I'd be willing to bet that very soon, sooner than we even realize, we will someday be looking back on this day as one that was so much simpler, and we'll yearn for how wonderful things are in this moment we're living in right now. All right, so those are just my kind of random thoughts for today. Again, the challenges that I'm facing and that you might be going through as well, it's normal to think of them as so big and impossible, and we just have to remember that we're going to get through this. It really is going to be okay. Thanks for listening. I hope that you found this video helpful, and if this reminder struck a chord with you, if it hit home, then please give this video a thumbs up. If you're not already following me on Instagram, then check me out over there as well, because I'm constantly posting behind the scenes views of my life, along with even more prioritization, productivity, time management, and work-life balance tips. If you haven't already, be sure and subscribe before you go, and then I will see you back next week with another video. Thanks for joining me on the journey. Camera's way too close. And how to live a more joyful life without waiting for someday and we can... I didn't say it right! All right, so now all I'm seeing are white lights because of the light on the camera. Now, if you're not already following me on Instagram, please take a minute and head over there to dang pop-ups. If this, all right, last take, I promise. That better be good enough.